The Sahara Desert is very hot and the Gobi Desert is very cold. Actually, I don't have an answer because I think all deserts are very bad.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia.
Superlatives.
Now we are going to learn superlatives. Remember, a comparative compares two people or two things. But a superlative compares one thing in a group to the rest of the group. So a superlative is number one. Nothing else is above it. Okay, for a superlative, we usually add the before the adjective. And for one syllable adjectives, we normally write the superlative by adding est to the adjective. Take a look at some examples. Paula is the youngest child in her family. Next example. Russia is the largest country in the world. Next example. The Nile is the longest river in the world. Now let's look at some pictures. Okay, the Sears Tower. The Sears Tower. The Empire State Building. The Empire State Building. And the Rockefeller Center. The Rockefeller Center. Now take a look at this sentence on your screen. The Sears Tower is taller than the other buildings. So that means it is the tallest building in the U.S. Okay, let's look at some other places or things. Okay, we have the Nile River. The Nile River. The Amazon River. The Amazon River. The Mississippi River. The Mississippi River. And the Seine River. The Seine River. Okay, please follow along look at these sentences. The Nile River is 6,825 kilometers long. All the other rivers are shorter. So we can say the Nile River is the longest river in the world. So you see when we can use the superlative form. We use it to compare one part of the group to the rest of the group. And we don't use than. We use the before the superlative, and we add est to one syllable words. So we use the before the superlative adjective. And we add est to one syllable words in the superlative. Now let's practice using the superlative form. Let's start with you, Sylvia. Who is the shortest in your family?
That's easy. There are only 2 boys in my family. My brother is tall. My other brother is very tall. I'm the shortest one in my family.
Okay, good. Linda, what is the largest city in Spain?
Gee, I'm not sure. Madrid is big. Seville isn't big. Barcelona is large. I think Barcelona is the largest city in Spain.
Very good, Linda. Alberto, what is the oldest city in Italy?
It's a very difficult question. All the cities are very old. Naples is old, Rome is old, Florence is very old, I think Florence is the biggest city in Italy.
Thank you, Alberto. Good job, everyone. So we can see that for the superlative forms, one-syllable adjectives, we usually add est to the end. Now let's take a look at some one-syllable adjectives that have special spellings when they're used in the superlative form. Take a look at your screen. Paris is the biggest city in France. Larry is the fattest boy in his family. So remember, in the comparative form, we doubled the consonant and added ER. Well, now in the superlative for big or fat, etc., we do the same. We double the consonant, but we add EST for the superlative form. So, big becomes bigger than in the comparative. In the superlative, big becomes the biggest. In the comparative form, fat becomes fatter. In the same way, in the superlative, fat becomes the fattest. Okay, now let's practice the superlative form. Sylvia, who is the thinnest boy in your class?
Let me think. Ed and George are fat. Paul and I are medium. Fred is thin. Fred is the thinnest boy in my class.
Good answer, okay. Now it's your turn, Alberto. What is the biggest sea in Europe?
I'm not sure. The North Sea is small. The Adriatic isn't big. The Baltic is big. The Mediterranean Sea is very big. The Mediterranean Sea is the biggest in Europe.
Okay, I think you're right, Alberto. Good. Linda, what is the hottest desert in the world?
One more difficult question. I know Gobi is a cold desert, and the Mojave is a very hot desert. Sahara is hotter than the Mojave, so the Sahara is the hottest desert in the world.
Okay, good. Good job, everyone. Now let's learn the superlative of two irregular adjectives. So remember, good and bad. In the comparative form, don't forget, good becomes better. And it's also irregular in the superlative. It becomes the best. All right, and again, bad in the comparative is worse. And in the superlative, it becomes the worst. So let's look again. We have good, two things or people, better, but the superlative is the best. Then we have bad, comparing two things or people becomes worse, but in the superlative, it becomes the worst. Okay, let's look at some examples. Follow along on your screen. Paul, Andrew, and Edna are three bad children. But Andrew is the worst child. Poor Andrew. Next example. Mexico City, Hong Kong, and New York are three beautiful cities. But Hong Kong is the best city. Okay, next example. My brother doesn't like Mexico. He thinks Mexico is the worst country in the world. Another example. Peter loves Vietnamese food. He thinks it is the best